Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday encouragement. Thanks for joining us today. I have a question for you. What's the most unexpected source you've learned a lesson from? Now, that might take you a moment. So while you're thinking, I'll take a minute to remind you of some of the great things coming up soon at Cherry Avenue Christian Church. Today is our prayer lunch. So depending on when you watch this, you may still have the opportunity to join us for that. It's at noon in the fellowship hall. We'll have lunch and we'll have a dedicated time of prayer where we lift up the people around us who don't know Christ and our efforts to reach out. And we'll finish up around 12:45 so that you can get back to work if you need to. So I hope you'll join us for that if you can. And this coming Sunday, we're going to have a homecoming fellowship dinner after the worship service. The church is going to provide the main dish and the sides. We just want you to bring your favorite dessert. Should be a great time of fellowship this coming Sunday after the worship service in the Family Life Center. And don't forget about our fall festival. It's coming up soon. Saturday, October 30th from 1 to 4 p.m. We have flyers you can take to invite your neighbors and your friends and their children. They're at the information desk outside the auditorium. And if you can donate items, we can use individually wrapped snacks like Little Debbie type snacks, as well as candy and stuffed animals, small games, and things like that to be used as prizes. We also need your help staffing the event. If you haven't signed up already, we would love to have you help out with one of the food stations or game stations or with setup and takedown. And if you're willing to help with that, please call the office or email me and I'll get you connected with that. Well, what was the most unusual source you've learned a lesson from? How about learning a lesson in generosity from a homeless person? Little Emily Anderson is 6 years old and she has hyperthyroidism. And the medicine she's on sometimes affects her mood, sometimes making her very upset. On the way to her doctor's appointment one day, she and her mom, Joanne, stopped to get lunch at McDonald's. Emily sat at a table while her mom, Joanne, went up to order. When Joanne was in line, she noticed a 20-some-year-old young lady in line who was having trouble paying for her order. She was homeless and didn't seem to have enough money to pay for her food. Joanne said, "I gave her the change I had so she would have enough money to pay for her food." Well, while that was going on, little Emily got upset. Her mom thinks it was because she was taking so long to get their food. When the homeless woman who Joanne had helped saw little Emily crying, she handed her the change she had left from her meal and said, "Oh, don't be upset. Here's some pennies for you to go and spend at the shop." Joanne said, "I was a bit overwhelmed by it because it was obvious she didn't have anything because I had already given her some money. And then for her to give her last 4 pennies to my daughter because she was upset was just lovely." It reminded me of the time Jesus was in the temple with his disciples and people were coming up to put their offerings in the box. And they loved to put their coins in the box because the bigger the sound of the coins going into the box, the more generous they looked to the people around them. But then this old widow came up and put in 2 copper coins worth only a few cents into the offering. And scripture says this. It says, calling his disciples to him, Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. They all gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all she had to live on." Now, I don't know what you say when a homeless person gives you the last few cents she has. And even though a few cents may not buy a lot, the fact is that it was all she had. And that shows the depth of her generosity. And generosity toward others is something Scripture urges us to over and over. In the coming weeks, we're going to be talking about the International Conference on Missions that's coming up next month in Richmond. Last time it was here, we gave toward the goal of starting 7 churches around the world. And we did, in every inhabited continent on earth. This year, our goal is 21 churches. And I encourage you to pray about your opportunity to give toward that, knowing the eternal blessing that it can bring for so many people. And when Joanne noticed that the young lady hadn't ordered a drink with her food, she bought her a Coke and they had lunch together and got to know each other a little bit. And she said it gave her a chance to teach her daughter about being generous to others. a lesson she learned from the generosity of a homeless woman.